Good morning, everyone. Just wait a minute for all the boxes to appear here. Okay, so today I'm gonna start by just addressing a few things that are coming up for the group. There's little messages coming in sometimes, people mentioning what's happening, questions about the practice. So one of the big things that is always coming up at these retreats is, the hindrances. The hindrances are, whatever the mind is generating that, it's like a veil or it appears to be an obstacle. But really all of the hindrances when they come up, whether it's tiredness, pain in the body, doubt in the mind, or you know, beliefs, whatever it is, craving, wanting some outcome, wanting something other than what is. All of these hindrances are actually not hindrances. When we say hindrance, there's a judgment there. It's something that is blocking or in the way, and the mind wants to get rid of it. But there's a beautiful saying: that which stands in the way is the way. So all of the hindrances are actually gateways into deeper knowing of ourself. We're getting to see, these operations of the mind, coming to understand how the mind is always dissatisfied. Getting to see the dukkha, which is that chronic unsatisfactoriness. So the practice, I went into a little bit yesterday around tiredness. I talked about, two kind of ways of looking at tiredness. We can observe the phenomena of the tiredness, really make it conscious. And we can do that with all of the hindrances. Just make it conscious. It only has power, or appears to have power, because it is unconscious. So when we make any hindrance conscious, for example, pain in the body, if we're observing it, observing sensations, sometimes the pain it'll become our meditation object, whether we want it to or not. So we might be hanging out with our meditation object. Maybe it's the breath, the third eye, or maybe we're just sitting. Maybe there's just awareness, or just presence is our where our attention is. But when that pain comes up, it can get to a point where it becomes front and center, whether we want it to or not. So with all of the hindrances, we default to always as it is, as it is. So just letting it be as it is, and and just seeing what is, just being with what is without resistance. So the pain, may have certain characteristics. It may have a certain location, maybe a certain size, to the locality in the body. Maybe it's moving through time, maybe it's shifting in intensity through time. It has these different qualities, and maybe it's sharp pain, maybe it's dull pain, maybe it's throbbing pain, maybe there's heat in it. Whatever it is, we are just with it, being conscious of it, not trying to push it away, but allowing it to be exactly as it is. And all of these hindrances, the so-called hindrances, are, they're patterns of resistance within the body mind. And the only way to undo that resistance is to not resist it. If we try to transmute it, try to do something with it, that's a form of resistance. We're actually adding fuel to that fire. So we learn to open to the pain. And as I've said, there's productive pain and there's unproductive pain. We want to go into the karmic pain, the pain that is, it's that habit pattern of the mind of, you know, pushing away discomfort, going after pleasure. Yeah, so we learn to love our pain, and not label it as pain. It's just sensation, just an intensity of sensation. So this is the one approach is to just be with the phenomena of it. So this is more like a technique. This is a more active, working with attention, just making it conscious. Kind of like if we do the body scan, the Vipassana body scan, it's really kind of doing the same thing. We're just observing sensation as it is, methodically, with equanimity, without resistance. And the other way, which to me, both approaches converge at a certain point. If we go, deeply into the phenomena, eventually there's this clearing, and we just come to the awareness that's here. But we can just recognize that awareness that is here right now. And this is the other approach, the direct approach or direct inquiry, to recognize the awareness directly. And awareness has no pain. Awareness has no qualities whatsoever. It's just aware. So it's like, sometimes the analogy is like, it's like the screen in which all of the phenomena is appearing. It's like a TV screen. So so the TV screen doesn't care what is appearing on the screen. So the character on the screen, the character that we're playing, the character can be in pain, but the screen is not in pain. Awareness is not in pain. The character can go through all of its drama and resistance, or it could be going through bliss. Maybe the character, when we start to move beyond dukkha, we start to move beyond the hindrances. There's another word that goes along with dukkha, and that is sukha. So there's dukkha and sukha. So dukkha is unsatisfactoriness, and sukha is satisfactoriness. So the little character might be happy that, there might be a sense of bliss or joy, or, the mind is settling down. There's a sense of presence, tranquility. So there's a sense of satisfactoriness. But that's still within the conditioned self, So It's still a preference. If there's this sense that I like this, this is good. There's bliss arising. We don't want to push anything away. We let it be exactly as it is, have a complete experience of it. But we don't go into that game of chasing the bliss. Yeah, what can happen is, the mind learns this game. The mind can learn this meditation game and learn to produce bliss, through this letting go. It'll notice that, if I'm a quantumist, then, there's this beautiful sensation that arises. And that bliss energy it's a good sign that we're working correctly. So it's you know it's you could say it's even like a bridge. Sometimes I say like breath is the bridge. Breath or prana is that energy. When we really go into the breath, we come to that energy. Or we go into any technique, eventually we come to that pranic field, the subtle realm. So it is like a bridge, but it can also become a new level of control for the mind, if there's attachment to it. Because as with everything in the phenomenal world, it comes and goes, you know. So the character oscillates between dukkha and sukha. But this awareness, the screen of consciousness upon which all this phenomena is appearing, or within which all phenomena is appearing, it just is. Just is. So who am I? Am I that character that is, going through this oscillation, all the good and the bad and the, present, not present, conscious, unconscious, all of that is happening on the screen. If it's changing, if it's subject to change, it's part of the phenomena on the screen. But who am I? Am I that awareness that is just here for the whole show, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, the beautiful? I'm just here, just aware. So when we intend to directly experience who we are, the whole, if there's a struggle happening with these hindrances, the struggle is happening within the character. So we find out who is struggling when we awaken. Awareness is just aware. Awareness doesn't struggle. Awareness doesn't actually do anything. Doesn't choose. Often Krishnamurti would talk about choiceless awareness. So awareness has no doing. There's no sadhana for awareness. Ramana Maharshi said something very profound one time, or many times, but one time it really landed for me. And this was earlier on in my own journey, and I didn't understand it at the time, and it was like a sometimes like in the Matrix, they say it's like a splinter in the mind, and it was like that for me. He said he would do a Q&A sometimes with students, and he said, the question was about sadhana, and he said, I've never done any sadhana. I've never done any sadhana. And this is coming from someone who, he did so much meditation. Like he, was sitting in a temple to the point where, bugs were eating his body and everything. So, from an outside observer's point of view, it seemed like he did a incredible amount of sadhana. It's like his life became sadhana. So what did he mean when he said, "I've never done any sadhana"? It's because when he says "I," he's speaking as the self, the true self beyond name and form. So all doing, all activity, all practices, it's all happening within the character, within this within Maya, you know. So this whole game of bondage and liberation are all happening within Maya. You know, but if we find out who believes they're bound, who is it that believes that they're bound, they need to be liberated. You know, if it's that little character that thinks it needs to be liberated, if I realize I'm not that character, I'm the awareness that is ever present, then we see the cosmic joke, when we awaken directly to this awareness that's here now. The delusion was that I'm that character that believes it needs to wake up. And this is the one knowing that, this is not a knowing of, memory. It's not something that is learned. It's direct. So it's a special kind of knowing. It's awareness waking up to itself. And in the teachings of the Buddha, this is called Prajna Paramita. Prajna Paramita. So this prajna is just wisdom, and paramita is ultimate. It's the ultimate wisdom. It's the wisdom beyond the learning of the mind. It's what we realize directly when we let go of that identification with the knower. So, the mind, the conditioned mind, can only know the definition of prajna paramita. It can look it up in a dictionary, it can know intellectually, but not actually. That intellectual mind has to give up, has to let go. If we keep searching on that level, it'll never be realized. So prajna paramita, it's not a state or it's some experience. It's simply waking up to the truth. It's awakening. And when you wake up, you know who suffers. So it's not that, the that life, like within the conditioned self, there's still all the same life circumstances, so nothing changes on that outer level, so it's not that, the challenges of life, change or that everything just goes smoothly. But the suffering, the sense of I, is no longer with that character, that's playing out its script and its drama on the screen. and actually the energy starts to become free, and that script can be changed or dissolved. Um, Something new, a new direction, new energy, the river of life starts to move the vessel. So I'm going to continue with Prajna Paramita. So I have teaching, one of the most beautiful teachings in Buddhism, the Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra, the Heart Sutra. And, this word heart, um, Ramana Maharshi would sometimes talk about the spiritual heart. So there's a word called hridaya, which is, the spiritual heart. So sometimes this is called the Hridaya Sutra, the Hridaya Sutra, or the Heart Sutra. So we're not talking about, obviously, a physical heart, or the heart chakra, or any of that. We're talking about the self. It's the ineffable. It's what Ramana is pointing to. So the Buddha in the Heart Sutra, he's pointing to the very same thing, which is this ineffable, non-dual awakening to the truth, simply the truth of who and what we are. you know, and if we try to sum it up in words, the sutra, I think, does as good of a job as anything. So I'm going to read that sutra, and just let it land beyond the mind. Just be open. When I first heard the Heart Sutra, it was at a Zen center, and they recited it every day, and something in me, the life essence, kind of perked up whenever that was recited, even though conceptually in my mind, I couldn't make sense of it at the time. It seemed like obscure and contradictory even, and enigmatic to the mind. So this sutra, it's pointing directly to the non-dual state. This is a non-dual teaching, and there's a few Sanskrit words in it. So I'm going to read it, but I'm also going to kind of explain and explain those words as we come to them as well, to try and make it more clear. So this is something. It's been a beautiful teaching, a beautiful pointer on my own path. So this is the Maha Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. So the Maha is just, the great or ultimate, the great ultimate wisdom Heart Sutra. So it starts out, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, doing deep Prajna Paramita, clearly saw the emptiness of all five skandhas, thus relieving all misfortune and pain. So Avalokiteshvara is the bodhisattva of compassion. So it's a being that has awakened. So this being that has awakened, this compassionate being, doing deep Prajna Paramita. So this is an interesting phrase, doing deep Prajna Paramita. So prajna is it is just being, just recognizing, abiding as the self, abiding as awareness. So as our after an awakening, our practice or our way of being in life is to practice prajna paramita. Life becomes that practice. It's just abiding as the self. So abiding as the self clearly saw the emptiness of all five conditions or all five skandhas, thus relieving all misfortune and pain. And I'm going to talk more about these five skandhas later on. And so in the sutra, he's speaking to one of the monks named Shariputra. So he says, "O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness, no other than form. Form is exactly emptiness. Emptiness, exactly form. Sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness are likewise like this. O Shariputra, all dharmas are forms of emptiness, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. So in emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, conception, discrimination, awareness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No color, sound, smell, taste, touch, phenomena. No realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, and yet no end to ignorance. No old age and death, and yet no end to old age and death. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no extinguishing, no path, no wisdom, no gain. No gain, and thus the bodhisattva lives Prajna Paramita with no hindrance in the mind. No hindrance, therefore no fear. Far beyond deluded thoughts, this is nirvana. All past, present, and future Buddhas live Prajna Paramita and therefore attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, which is essentially the actualization of liberation. Therefore, Prajna Paramita is the great mantra, the vivid mantra, the best mantra. And when he says mantra here, he doesn't mean, just something to recite. He's not talking about the words, but it's holding this as the absolute truth, directly, knowing, direct knowing. It completely clears all pain. This is the truth, not a lie. So set forth the Prajna Paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and say, Gate gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. So this means gate gate means gone, gone. Paragate, it's completely gone. Parasamgate, absolutely beyond. The awakened heart is hridaya, or the self is absolutely beyond. It's beyond the transcendent and the immanent. It form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form. So when we let go of that duality, that distinction, there's a directness. That emptiness is here. It's all empty, and it's all full. It's all the self, this heart, this eyeless eye that awakens. It's not a thing, and it's not nothing. There's no one that attains it. That one that is trying to attain it is the one that gives up. If I believe I'm not one that is needing to attain it, then I miss it. Then I'm looking for something. I think I know that I have to attain something. But when that I gives up, my favorite teaching is just be still and know. And even that, the mind can say, okay, create stillness somehow. But it's beyond that. It's beyond, the duality of stillness and movement even. We see that within movement is the stillness. Stillness is exactly movement. Movement is exactly stillness. In Zen, sometimes they say emptiness dancing. Emptiness dancing. This is the same teaching that we find in Christianity, in some of the Gnostic teachings. There's a teaching where Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is spread out upon the earth. It's right here, but we don't see it. So we see only our thoughts, see only our concepts. We're so attuned to the mind, and the mind is only looking for the next thing, but we can't see what's right here. It's right here in this moment. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the five skandhas now. I love this sort of lens for looking at the self structure. To me, what's really happening in the sadhana is we're just seeing what is in play, what's already in motion. We're making these unconscious processes of the mind conscious. So I'm going to pull up that image again, and I'm going to share it in a different way so that people can't grab it and move it around. Whatever was happening last night. So okay, where are we here? Okay, here we go. So yeah, so in the Heart Sutra, the awakening is realizing all these processes of the mind. Sometimes they call them the five aggregates of mind. Um, we realize these aggregates of mind to be empty of self. And this is not an intellectual realization. So um, I'm not trying to get you to memorize anything or learn something with the mind here. This is really about coming into direct contact, just seeing um, that which is usually unconscious and making it conscious. And I'm going to take us through a little example here so that we can start to really feel into this, really start to see within the mind, within our own mind body, getting direct experience of these five skandhas. So the first one is the form, the body, Rupa. So this body, how do we experience the body? How do we know or come to believe that, we have a body, or, if we're identified with it, we think I am the body. It feels like I'm the body. It's whatever's happening with the body. It really feels like me. So so um, in order for this body to be perceivable, there's sensation that arises on the body. There's like a vibration or something that makes it noticeable. So that's the second skandha. Vedana is sensation or feeling on the body. And when we're doing that Vipassana body scan, S.N. Goenka, who is the Vipassana teacher. He's like the quintessential Vipassana teacher. He would always say, observe sensation at the root level. Observe sensation at the root level. So raw sensation, the subtlest sensation. So this is Vedana. This is sensation before it is good or bad. So there's just an indication that there's something there. You know, So the example I like to use is the example of a mosquito. And all of the different stages of interacting with the mosquito can really start. When we look at them, we can start to see how these skandhas are operating. So imagine there's a mosquito buzzing around, and you've never seen a mosquito before. We haven't come to the memory part of the mind yet. So this is at the root level of sensation. So there's no memory yet, no preferences yet. Nothing is good or bad yet at this point. This is just raw sensation. So there's this buzz, this vibration just happening, buzzing around. So and maybe it lands on us. So there's a vibration, and there's this indication that something is happening. There's an aliveness there, but there's no reaction yet at this point. So Vedana is, if we can tune in to that raw vibration, it's possible to tune in or perceive this layer or this sometimes it's called a kosha. A kosha, it's like a discrete layer of or a discrete mind process that we can tune into, and we can tune into it on its own, without the other operations of the mind. We can just perceive that energy layer if we put our attention just on the subtlest sensation. If you do enough of that Vipassana body scan, eventually this is where your attention will reside, is on this layer. And I really tuned into this layer one time when I was doing a darkness meditation. I was in a little darkness meditation hut for a few days, and really, really putting attention on this vibratory layer. And I had a little teacher that showed up. I didn't realize it at the time, but we on our property here we have a lot of woodpeckers, um, and this little darkness hut had a metal roof on it. So I'm in there meditating away, and deep in the vibratory layer. So not conceptualizing or anything, and and then these incredible waves started coming through, just like tsunamis of vibration and energy, and it was quite startling at the time, and because the mind wasn't perceiving things, there wasn't a sense that this is sound or this is visual. It was sort of prior to the senses. It was just pure vibration. So it was, you know, with the eyes, in the darkness, it's all just it's almost like a synesthesia where the senses are all kind of one. So there was a sense of seeing, hearing, feeling, all this, all mixed up in this vibration. And then at a certain point, that part of the mind that perceives things became active again, and then I realized it's a woodpecker, yeah, pecking away and creating these waves. So that's Vedana, that vibratory layer, and part of the practice is to make it conscious, to see that is in play, and to see, this is where the beginning of the I thought starts to take root. because what happens is, we have these sensations, and sometimes, in the life experience, these sensations, there can be quite a charge to this energy, and the charge gets pushed into the unconscious. If you think about electricity, if you've ever seen these Lichtenberg figures where electricity will hit a piece of wood, or it'll hit an acrylic block, and it makes these little branching patterns. The same thing is happening with our neural pathways in our mind. When the charge, that energy isn't free flowing, through the existing wiring, it creates these branching patterns. And these are resistance patterns. And this resistance is the beginning of the I thought. The I thought is resistance to what is. They're little loops within the self structure. So this is where we start to create perceptions and memories, these memories of things. We all of our language constructs get built in this way. We're taught, that this is a thing, and we store that in the memory. So our parents will teach us this is a tree, this is a bird, and so instead of directly experiencing the energy, the aliveness, that's flowing through the senses, we start to see the concept instead of the actual thing. So in one of the films, there's a little part, and as soon as when your parents teach a child, that this is a bird, then the child never sees the bird again. They see only their thoughts. So this is the third skandha. This is sanya, the perception of things. So instead of this field of change, this field of changing phenomena, and I start to see, this is an arm, this is a leg. There are all of these things. There's these objects come into being at this point through this discrete mind process. Yeah, and at this point, there's no preference to these objects. So going back to the mosquito example, we feel this buzz, this vibration, and then, there's a memory. The mind knows this is a mosquito, so there's a label, and there's an identification that, yes, this is mosquito. You know? So there's now a thing called a mosquito that's there, but yet it's still not good or bad. I haven't activated the fourth skandha yet, which is the preference. So the fourth skandha is my I thought, really takes hold in this fourth skandha. It's like, I like this, I dislike that. So mosquito buzzing, bad. It's going to cause suffering, and so this little I has a preference towards that experience. Yeah. So the when we awaken, when we make all of these processes conscious, the sense of I is disentangled from that. Um, and so that brings us to the fifth skandha, Vijnana, which is, this is the one on the right side here. You see this big eye, and this is the part of the mind that observes the other four skandhas. So sometimes this is referred to as consciousness. So this is not the big consciousness. This is not the self, the beyond name and form, but this is, the mind is like a facsimile of consciousness. It's like an imitation of consciousness, and it's, so there's this part of the mind that is designed to witness and to see, and this is where there's this separation happening. It seems that there is this separate witness, and what is witnessed. So we can observe, we can see this part of the mind doing its thing. We can see attention moving here and there. I can put attention on subtle sensation. I can put attention on my perceptions, on my thoughts, my memories, whatever's coming up in the mind. I can see my preferences, the preferences of the character. I can see all of that. Yeah, so we realize all five skandhas to be empty of self. So even that mind consciousness, there's an awareness that is beyond all of this. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate. Gone, gone, completely gone, beyond all of this world of form. What you see on the screen here is, this is duality. This is duality, and we can, let me just move this one over here and move this off the screen. So we can sort of sum up all the skandhas, with this image here. So this is sometimes called a figure ground reversal. Hopefully everyone is seeing this chart here. It's on my screen. Hopefully it's there for you as well. So when you look at it one way, you see there's a vase. If you look at it one way, the vase is in the foreground. But if you look at it another way, it looks like there are two faces in the foreground. So so this is a depiction of duality. So we, with the skandhas, we can observe the witness. We can rest as that witness. So it's like the witness becomes the foreground, and then all the phenomena is in the background. But for most people, in day-to-day life, all of that phenomena is the foreground. So the figure ground reversal is when we notice the witness. We notice this witnessing mechanism of the mind. So this figure ground reversal is important. It's an important part of the path, and there are some meditation techniques out there that only deal with this. The whole point of the technique is to bring about this figure ground reversal. And there's, when we're resting as, or just, with attention on that witness, that witnessing part of the mind, there is a sort of relief in that. There's a sort of tranquility to that. But that's still part of duality, and if we're only satisfied with that, if we're only resting as that witness, we're always going to be in this sort of I've got it, I've lost it kind of scenario. So the mind, when the mind comes into the foreground, it's like, oh, I've lost that piece. That witness has been lost. So if your happiness is contingent on that witness, then you have to spend your life in meditation, or you're always, with attention on that witness, and it's not the same thing as the non-dual state. It's definitely better than being caught in Maya, in the illusion of all this phenomena. So it's a step, but there's that which is beyond all of this, that which is beyond this whole dualistic structure. So when we intend to directly experience who we are beyond name and form, beyond the five skandhas, this is what we're going for. And so we see the emptiness of all of this, or when we wake up to this awareness that is here, all of this seems like a dream. All of this that's been playing out in the mind seems like a dream character. And often what I hear is, how did I get so identified? It's like I've been playing out the life of this dream character all this time, and going about this pattern. But awareness has always been here. So to see what's in play in the mind, to see Maya, you know, in its different aspects. This is all the I thought. All of these five skandhas, the I thought is wrapped up in all of it. So when we see it, when we make it conscious, and we're not reacting to it, you know, at a certain point, it just comes down to not believing the next thought. So we're no longer looking to any of that for who we are or for fulfillment, realizing all five skandhas to be empty of self. So I think I will leave you with that as we go into our sit. And we'll take a 5-minute break and come back for meditation. So we'll just take a 10-minute break and we'll come back for group process. Okay, hi everyone. So, just one thing before we get started. So, Tayama just mentioned that it's important, if possible, if you can turn on your video when you ask a question. It just helps us to find you on the screen because there's so many people here. If video is turned off, then you get shunted to the back of the list. So it's almost like you disappear from our screen. So if you could do that, that would be great. And yeah, so it's an opportunity to check in, whatever's coming up. I see there are a few things that have been asked in the chat here, so maybe I will answer those things right now. So yeah, here's a few things that are coming up for people. So Vernon asked a couple questions here. So he asked, what are the characteristics of awareness? Can it be described? Yeah, so this is a good question. Yeah, so and this is described in so many different ways by the the ancient teachings, the Upanishads, the great teachers throughout history. Yeah, so I'll give a few responses to that, just because they can land differently for different people, and this is an important one to really get this, and not just get it conceptually, but these pointers are pointing beyond the mind. So awareness, sometimes it's when it's like a fish asking, a fish that's swimming in the ocean, and someone's trying to point out the ocean to the fish, and the fish is saying, "What ocean? What ocean? What are you talking about?" Or if I try to point out the sky, and there are clouds in the sky. It's like we might mistake the clouds or things in the sky for, the awareness itself. So yeah, so awareness has no characteristic. Like even the sky, there's a sense of space, but awareness has zero characteristic. It's not a thing. Doesn't belong to the phenomenal world. And when I say consciousness, I don't mean Vijnana, the fifth skandha. That's part of the phenomenal world. I mean our true self, our true awareness. So it's, another example is like the, if we're in a VR game, or if we're in a dream, let's say we're in a dream, all the dream phenomena is there, and it can change. And this outer world of form is just like that. It's just like the world of dream phenomena. So who am I that experiences that? Who's the knower of that experience? My avatar can change, my dream character. So awareness is somehow playing all these, or experiencing all these different parts. So what is that awareness? It's the phenomena changes, but awareness has no shape, no location. It's just pure consciousness. It's its own thing, which is not a thing. Yeah, and sometimes teachers will use the word I amness, or suchness. Beingness. So this beingness is, it's ever present. It was there when you were a little kid, all through life. All the phenomena of life changes, our avatar changes, it ages, but the sense that I am It's always there. I exist. I am. There's a beingness. So it can only be experienced directly. It's not. It can't be made an object in any way. Can't be described in any way. So that's awareness. So when we intend to directly experience, that's what we're going. The mind has to give up all attempts to define what that is. So the second question from Vernon, if I am not the doer, nor am I the thinker, is the essence that is the doer and the thinker the unknowable Tao? Is the essence that is the doer and the thinker the unknowable Tao? Yeah, language is tricky. So to me, the Tao is all that is. It's the one mind. There's nothing other than that. It's this, the universe, the primordial oming the universe into being. So it's this unfolding divine intelligence. And then, our little ego, it's like the Tao is like this river of energy dancing, and the little self goes against that river. The little self goes against that current in the river, and when it goes against it, it suffers. So when we drop the I thought, there's a coming into alignment with, you could say, with the Tao, or with what is. It's just what is, what's arising in this moment. So samadhi or wu wei, whatever you want to call it, there's an aligning with what is arising. So that river keeps going. The river doesn't stop. So there's doing, but the sense of a doer, the sense of a little I doing something, is what is dropped. So you could say my will, my individual will, and divine will, God's will, the heart's will, are one in that. So there's an attuning to that. So there's this whole question of doing. Who is doing? This always comes up at these retreats. Who is doing? Where is that doing coming from? Is there a sense that I'm doing something? And when we really go into it, when we look at who's doing, where's that doing coming from? It's this web of causality, this web that has no weaver. They have in Buddhism this doctrine of dependent origination, which describes this. So there's no doer. It's just this endless web that has no weaver. It's an energy following consciousness following energy. The Vijnana and the other Skandhas, doing this dance together. So who is aware beyond all of that? So we intend to directly experience that awareness, this non-dual space of where we experience, everything and nothing simultaneously. Form exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form. It can only be direct, not conceptualized. So Yeah, there's another one here. So Richard asked, can you do self-inquiry on your own, or is a partner needed? Yeah, so yeah, doing it on your own, essentially, that's what meditation is, or meditation becomes that. I've talked about how meditation and self-inquiry converge at a certain point. So when we let go of the doer in the meditation, let go of techniques, let go of the meditator, then there's just this direct beingness. So that's self-inquiry. It's just, who am I? What is that beingness that I am? I can just be that. So I'm not looking for that with the conditioned mind, but just abiding as that. So that's, true self-inquiry. It's when we find that beingness that is here, we can just abide as that. And that's what we were in the Heart Sutra. That's practicing Prajna Paramita is another way to say it. So the dyads offer something unique, a possibility for clearing the samskaras and the vasanas that quite often doesn't come up in the cushion, because we don't come in contact with certain vasanas that are maybe related to another person, or being, when we're being witnessed, different things come up. It seems like there's an acceleration when we're working with a partner. So both are important. That's why we have both on the retreat here. So. So yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's
Mm-hmm.
begin. And I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong. Gedaha Hayat.
Hi there.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so my question is during the dyad, there's a tendency to sense the other person's maybe sensations or emotions and everything. And then the mind kind of, when this happens, and this even happens in real life, the mind kind of starts reacting or wants to just kind of maybe, I don't know, gets fidgety or starts analyzing.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, how are there techniques to be able to use this to remember myself rather than to actually, fidget and have all these
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
sensations?
it's a great opportunity, as resting as the witness, and sometimes we really start to attune to the other person. We can feel everything that they're going through. Sometimes, if someone is experiencing emotions, if the witness is very empathic, they'll start to cry as well, or it's almost like the witness at a certain point sometimes will disappear almost, and you become attuned to what's happening with the partner. So there's nothing to do or really control when that's happening. Like the practice is to just really let everything be exactly as it is, and just notice that it's happening. So if an emotion is coming up, or there's a reaction, or fidgeting happening in the body, sometimes energy will start to move, like people even be twitching and stuff like that. And sometimes it's involuntary, like we can't control it. But if we make it conscious, we just observe it without reacting, without resisting it, just letting it be exactly as it is. Usually, it will integrate, and that twitching and whatever it is, that energy will settle down eventually. If we go to battle with it, if we try to control it or get rid of it, it's just going to it's like exercising a muscle. It's going to get stronger. So nothing to do except just allow it, and just see. Just, a lot, sometimes it's sort of conscious, it's not fully conscious. So if we fully experience it and fully become conscious of it, eventually it'll integrate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Doerr.
Hi, John. Oh, you're still muted there.
Sorry. I just had a very unusual experience. It started yesterday when you mentioned Shinzen Young asking about these auditory visual forms, where's the space? And I began to see the mind as this infinite empty space. And when you read the Heart Sutra, which I've chanted thousands of times, something different happened, and I had this clear vision about that we're dreaming. I mean, that everything is empty, forms, thoughts, feelings, and so I saw all of being as empty. And I saw that we see that our life is really like a dream in the sense that, it's all that doing is, if we think it is so, like Shakespeare's thinking makes it so. And then I remembered Wordsworth saying, oh, birth is but a dream and a forgetting. And so something is gripping me about how I'm becoming convinced that this is a dream. The story is the dream. And that awareness, it seems to wind up so that there's a kind of primal awareness, if that's what it is, and then the emptiness. And yet in the world of form, there are just waves of energy, and they're empty until we try to do something with it, till we label them and name them and then believe them. Seems to be the energy that creates all of these, forms, feelings, etc. So I'm really in the grips on this. It feels like I'm on a boundary line, leaning over something that feels very important. And I just needed to share that. I can't, it's hard to make it clearer. The emptiness is completely clear. So it's all space. It's like there's only space until we create. Apparently, we humans have this ability to keep creating all kinds of, what look like forms, and create these feelings. And so I only see the empty space of energies, and I think it's awareness seeing that. So I can't describe it any better.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And so in this moment, like you described that experience of you described seeing the universe as empty. So is that awareness, is that emptiness here in this moment?
Yeah. Yes. And it comes with a rush of energy going through me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So that's it. So if the mind. I love your quotes, Shakespeare and Wordsworth, and the mind loves to make these connections, and I sense that you have a very your mind is loves those connections just like mine does, and the tendency of the mind is to make it into this beautiful sort of story, or description. So the direct experience of it is, of course, what deepens, what will eventually dismantle. Even that story, even the most beautiful story, even if you were Shakespeare, now, that those words would be empty. They would. It's only in this direct knowing of that.
Yeah, everything is emptiness, and the only thought I didn't mention, I was left with, everything is emptiness until we create it otherwise, or think we do. But the only thing that matters is caring. I just felt this awareness is caring. Like, even though, there's a bunch of illusions that we humans go through, it's like, well, caring for each other anyway. I mean, I get the story is empty. That there's only this empty space with energy in it is all that I can construe things as, except for one quality, the heart of the Heart Sutra. It's like
Beautiful.
caring, and then everything else stops and goes away.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's it. So that seeing of the truth, like when we directly see the truth of who and what we are, we see that emptiness and the energy as one. That energy, if it's all one, that is love. That is love. When we recognize that there is no other, we feel that, we see it directly, we experience it directly. That is love. Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
I'll read it. If you hold this feeling of I long enough and strongly enough, the false self will vanish, leaving only unbroken awareness of the real immanent I, or consciousness itself. And so he's talking about the feeling of I. And would you say the feeling of I could be just the feeling of I am, what you referred to earlier?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's all. You just hold
yeah.
that in your consciousness and awareness long and strong enough.
Yeah, that's it. So that quote is the perfect quote for, it's the imperative, intend to directly experience who you are, so who am I? It's that sense of I, when we investigate that I, we hold that sense of I. And that's what we're doing at this retreat. We're, I've given it so many words, beingness, I amness, consciousness, and it's always, Ramana always stresses that, at the beginning, it's the false I. It has to be the false I at the beginning. Otherwise, we'd already be enlightened. We'd be awake. So when we put attention on anything, at the beginning, it's always the false I, and there's this clearing process. So whatever is coming up, to be seen in that investigation, we see the content of the mind, and once we see it, it can be cleared. So once we clear all the objects, all the phenomena, what remains? at the end of that.
Well, I don't see why it's the false I. When I close my eyes and go inside, I can always find a sense of I amness. That's not the false I, is it?
Well, if are you directly experiencing that I amness?
Yeah, I feel like I am. When you described the exercise, I thought, oh, that's something I don't feel that I'm going to try and feel.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I assume everyone has a sense. If they take a moment and go inside, I assume everyone feels that sense of existence or I amness.
Yeah. So you're not searching for that. It's just there.
It's there, yeah.
Yeah, and it's here in this moment.
If I go inside,
Yeah.
if my attention's not on you, if I go inside, yeah, it's there.
Yeah. So if you can, recognize that, so who are you in this moment? Who are you? What's the sense of who you are?
Well, I'm that I amness, and that's all I can say about it. I don't know anything more about it.
Beautiful. So if the mind is not searching, you're not looking to the mind, to find that, then just abide as that, and that's it. That's it. It's simpler than simple. There's nothing. The challenge is for a lot of people, the mind will search for who they are, and try and find something. So when that's given up, that I amness is just here, then there's a deepening of this investigation. Then anything that is still in play in the unconscious can just come to the surface. But we don't need to search anymore. Once you're that I amness, it's that's the end of seeking. There's no more need to seek. Now there's just this deepening of this purification process, so that the energies can move in this avatar, so that there's this transparency to that truth.
You mentioned continuing to take this question even after you said that you still do dyads and entertain the question, and there's some benefit in it for you. And what is that? Mm-hmm. After you already know, after you already can find the I amness, or what?
Yeah. So So after an awakening, the awakening it's such a key point in the journey, because it is the end of seeking. We're no longer looking for the truth of who we are, but still, the vasanas and the samskaras may still be in play. So I may have this kensho experience, but then I go into life, and maybe I go back to a situation with my old high school friends or something. There's certain vasanas that, there are tendencies that only come up in that situation. So I'm back in that situation, and something comes out of the unconscious. There may be an identification that comes up, something in the mind that's really strong, a charge, and so from a place of awareness now, I can burn in that. So life will offer all these opportunities after an awakening experience, to purify the remaining samskaras and the conditioning. So just having that, kensho, it's a glimpse. But it's not liberation. Liberation is when we, all of the samskaras have been purified, and there's this energy that just flows from the root to the crown, continuously. There's an effortlessness. So there's no longer this sense of, I'm here, I'm awake, and then I'm identified, I'm getting triggered, and all of that. There's a you could say like Turiya is that. There's a like the great masters like Ramana said. There's a point where he said, "I no longer come and go. I no longer come and go." So that Turiya is permanently established. It's like a grace that God consciousness just shining through continuously.
Yeah. Well, I think I must be missing something because I can find that sense, and yet there's still a for example, when I'm in physical distress, energetic distress, there's still a searching, still a desiring to be out of the suffering of that.
So as long as there's still suffering, there's still vasanas, still samskaras to clear. The more aware we are, the more grounded in awareness. When those things do come up, whatever resistance is there, that capacity to surrender becomes greater and greater, to not resist what is. And I mean, it's a continuum. So, like a Buddha or Jesus, like Jesus is the perfect example. You nail him to the cross, and he still has his heart open and is loving, So that's the highest mastery of that. The rest of us are somewhere on that continuum, So it's an ongoing deepening of that capacity to be with what is, with that heart open.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jinty.
Thank you. Hi, Dan. So I have a question. I experienced the direct awareness yesterday's dyad. So my question is, when I'm saying I'm aware of the phenomenon, even the body and body movement or thought, is that still a duality? Because I am aware something, like there's aware and then be aware. Yeah.
So first, is that awareness present here right now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I get a sense that the mind is trying to figure this out. The mind wants to know, is this it? Is there some, so as soon as the mind is trying to figure it out, the mind that's trying to figure it out is the separation. It is the separation. So if you can relax that question. So because sometimes I say like the truth is not revealed in the questions and answers. The truth is revealed when that questioning mind actually just relaxes, and we just allow that don't know mind. Yeah. So how does that feel to just relax?
Yeah.
And not
Relax.
know? Yeah. So that not knowing, we can just abide in presence, in beingness. And that not knowing, if my little mind doesn't have that burden of knowing, that's liberation, that's freedom. It's like it doesn't have to know. And the not knowing actually is the direct aliveness of this moment.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Karen.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Karen.
I just wanna screen here. I've got a sharing that I'd like to share, and then I have a question. I just have lots of energy moving through me. I want to share a direct experience I had last night in my second dyad. I'm not quite sure how much but to share, but the first dyad I settled into, the only thing I knew was that I didn't know anything. I really settled into that. And so then when I moved into the second dyad, we were working, and it was, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm here right now. And then it was at the end of the dyad, and the question came, tell me who you are. And it was like, this is not the right question. This is not the right question. And so my partner, being wonderful, he held the space so beautifully, said, can I ask another question? And I said, yes. And he said, tell me what you are. And as soon as he asked me what I was, I just went into, I am pure awareness. And I had this gentle, the only way to describe it is a gentle explosion into expansion, where I was everything and nothing, and there were no boundaries, and there was no separation. I could see my partner's light. It was really something. And then, of course, I wanted to share my experience. I had no words though, but I was wanting to share my experience. My partner was so beautiful. He's like, no, stay, stay, stay. My body was shaking so bad, and I didn't feel like I could go into a third dyad. So I sat with the facilitator. I sat with Sue, and she helped ground me. And this morning, I see the mind is starting to be active again, but I guess there's still stuff to clear. So this is probably the fifth glimpse that I've had, and they keep getting deeper and bigger. But the clarity is amazing. The clarity is quite something.
So you've had 5 glimpses.
Glimpses like this, but not like
times?
this.
Okay.
Different times, all in retreats. And then, of course, deepening as the years go by. This has been over several years. Yeah. This one was very different than like I really got it.
So my question is, so in this moment, who and what you are, is it here now, or do you like who is here in this moment?
Who is here?
Or what? The who and the what are
the who and the what.
Yeah. So the what. It's interesting that you had that experience. So we usually, after someone has got the who, because the who is waking up to just pure awareness, So it's the who-less who, but the what is, what you are is, of course, it's all that is, So we can what leads. We usually give people the what imperative. Tell me what you are after they've had the who. Just because if you don't have, so here's an interesting thing. So if you inquire into what you are before getting the who, what you are, because it's you're everything. So I can have a direct experience of being another, or being energy, being all that is, but it's the what is still, it's the phenomenal world, that you're having a direct experience of that. It's like I am that too, but without knowing that I'm also nothing. So that's like having the experience I'm everything, but without knowing that I'm this empty awareness. sometimes people can start to chase those beautiful experiences. So because the experience part of it always changes, so even so those are peak experiences, those are direct experiences. But the knower of that experience is always the same knower. There's an infinite variety of experiences of what you are that can be had, and that's the deepening of this. That's the non-duality of this this path is to have those multifaceted experiences.
And I'm aware as you're speaking that of the knower in all of those experiences I've had, the knower is the same. So I think you're answering my question, which was, when I go into the dyads, do I keep the who you are question, and if it feels like it's the wrong question, just work with that?
Well, so
because it felt constricted in some way.
Yeah, so I would say they don't have to be separate.
Okay.
They're actually not. So there's no. It's not that it's the wrong question. It's just that what was the right question for you in that moment.
In that moment.
But who you are and what you are. These are the two samadhis. These are like who you are is waking up beyond name and form. What you are is coming back into name and form. It's waking up from the illusion, going back into the illusion, and I am that too. So you could get your partner to say, tell me who and what you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not about this or that. It's about this and that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to, I really realized how important the witness is in these dyads, because my partner was absolutely amazing, and I really don't think I would have had that experience if he hadn't held the space so beautifully. So
amazing.
Yeah.
A good witness is so powerful.
Yeah. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Dan. I have two questions that relates to what Vernon said. It seems so mundane after hearing the last question or experience, which was inspiring, by the way, Karen. So my first question is, you had talked about how the awareness or the I amness is something that has always been with us, even since childhood, which I agree. I'm just wondering, is that the feeling when someone says, how does it feel to be 5, or how does it feel to be 10 or 20? And you say, it feels the same. I don't feel any different. Is that the awareness?
It's hard to describe, but it could be that. Yeah, like that sense, if you can kind of feel back into when you were that little kid, and there's just a sense that I'm me, when I'm that little kid. And even when we're like 90 years old, there's still this sense that I just am. It's crazy that I have this body. This body keeps changing and everything, but I just feel I'm me. So it's just whatever that sense of just beingness is, and it's very hard to put your finger on, but I think that's what you're pointing towards. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is, what are the signs that awareness is waking up?
Yeah, so there's many signs of kensho that start to present themselves at this retreat, and I don't want to get too specific, because minds can hear those things and then create facsimiles out of it. So I'll just maybe say in a general way, there's usually a sense of the mind that's trying to figure things out, the mind that is trying to get it right, all of that starts to kind of drop away, and there's when the mind is no longer trying to do anything, and we can just sort of relax into this experience. There's a sort of sense of ease that comes with that. That burden of doing something is kind of dropped, and so there can be a lightness and energy that starts to come. Playfulness, childlikeness starts to come forward. So those are signs, a spontaneity. When the mind is trying to make it happen, it's like a heaviness. It's like this big task. It's like this grim task that has to be accomplished. It's like, the awakening project has to be completed. But when we drop that, there's a lightness that starts to come. And different people have, described different things that are happening in their practice as well. There all sorts of phenomena can unfold. There can be a sense of energies, and the phenomena is not so important. There are sort of markers or standard things that happen with people on their path, but I would say there may be a sense of newness that comes. So if the mind, when the mind is involved, it's usually repeating something, or there's a memory involved with it. Whereas when that mind drops away, things become brighter, more clear, as if they're being seen for the first time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna.
Anna.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Yesterday night, because here is night when I do the self-inquiry diet, it was a really beautiful experience because Bill was great. He was very useful to me, and perhaps to my partner too. But today I wanted to ask something to a facilitator because it was a personal question, and I wrote to the facilitator, but I get no answer. And this is quite uncomfortable because you always tell us that we can ask, we can write. Okay, I just wanted to tell this because it's a nasty thing not to receive any answer. It was a question that I think doesn't concern everybody. It was a personal question, but okay, stop. Now I have a question for you. Equanimity often has been useful in my life because sometimes I feel that I can rest in equanimity, and this gives me a sense of peace, a sense of lightness, a sense of newness, as you have just said. But sometimes when I'm suffering and I think to equanimity, I feel like a part of me is neglected. I think there is something, I know that that is the egoic mind, I suppose. But I strongly feel that I can't ignore that voice. So I'm asking you, why sometimes taking distance from the egoic mind or the ego is painful, and some other times it is cathartic, it is liberating. I still can't put together these two things.
So can you give me an example of that when you're talking about equanimity? Do you have a specific example? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I have a discussion with my husband, for example, I realize that I have taken it too personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try not to judge, not to think he made me feel bad. No, we had an exchange of thinking, of the words, of situation, and each of us acts as it natural, as it is according to his personality, to his style, to his history. Other times I can't do that. I can't do that.
Okay, yeah, I get that's a perfect example. Yeah, and I think, I'm the same with relationships. Sometimes, I've been in relationships where, when I was really doing a lot of meditation, if things were coming up in the relationship, I would just sort of meditate it away. I just being equanimous, and but it doesn't solve the worldly problem of whatever's happening in the relationship, and sometimes whatever pattern is in play starts to grow, and that's what happened for me. It's like it actually took me really deep into meditation, because the more out of control the relationship would get, the more meditation I would do. But eventually, it's like sometimes the energies are needing to express, and sometimes if a pattern or something is happening in a relationship, it's not an optimal solution to just be equanimous with everything. And I think these dyads are a perfect way. Like in my own relationships, I sometimes will do clearing practices. So instead of, suppressing something or just being equanimous, true equanimity is not a suppression, but it's an allowing of the energies. So sometimes there can be an expression that comes. And so in day-to-day life, we can use the dyad as a clearing practice. You could just say to a partner, if you can teach them the practice, then say, I have something that is coming up within the mind and body. This is just what's coming up. I'd like to clear it, and we can express it. And on the flip side, if you can just become a witness for someone, instead of evaluating what it is they're saying, just say, okay, I'm going to witness that person's mind right now, and just allow that to come up. So for me, this is a way to, it's a sort of middle way with it. We are still actually being very equanimous, cultivating equanimity, but at the same time, we're not suppressing anything. We're allowing, energies to move, allowing expression, and whatever needs to be cleared from the mind can be cleared. So it's a beautiful technique. Yeah.
So you think that I can explain him the technique and to talk, and the other has to be the witness, exactly as we do in the self-inquiry diets?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, Charles Berner, he actually wrote a book on he calls it the clearing process. So it's essentially this process, but it's more for working within relationships. So if he's open to it, he has to be open to it, obviously, and willing to play the game. But it's a beautiful thing to do in a relationship, because we we very rarely normally get a chance to express completely, without being evaluated. So it can be really beautiful for relationships.
But when he takes his turn, can he answer to me, or he has to tell who he is, what is going on his mind and body?
Yeah, he can just report, what's coming up in the mind and body. Like when we do the clearing in a relationship, we can just say to the other person, I have something to clear. It's just coming up, and we just do it in a way where it's not personal. So it's not like I want to say something about you, but it's just this thought is arising in the mind, and it just needs to be cleared. Whether it's true or not true doesn't matter, but this is what's coming up, and then we just share it, and the other person, we make an agreement that they just witness. And that's it. And if they're willing to make that agreement, it works. If they react, which it's hard in relationships to not react sometimes. So, but if you can have that agreement, it's very powerful. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just a gentle note that we have 4 hands up left in about 20 minutes, so it'd be great to get to each of you. And Doris, you're next.
Hi, Doris. Can you unmute there? There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, when we meditate and there's spaces between thoughts, and the spaces have nothing, they're just empty, is that a glimpse of real awareness, true awareness?
Yeah, when there's no thought, there's just presence. Awareness is always present. So the question is, like right now, if we stop talking, do you feel that awareness is here in this moment?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So whenever you look for awareness, is awareness ever not here?
No.
Yeah. So even when the thoughts are there, awareness is present, but we tend to, that part of the mind will fixate on the thoughts, and it seems like sometimes awareness is not here. But yeah, it's ever present.
So I can stop doing that with the dyad because I already know. Can I stop trying to find it?
Yeah, whatever the mind is doing to try and find it, you can stop that.
Oh,
absolutely. Yes. Yeah, because
Oh boy. So another thing is, when you were talking about I am and I, finding this, going to the source of I, how about if could I just do the I am instead of the I? If I just, the I seems like I'm going to make a big project out of it if I try to go to the source of I.
Yeah, if it seems like a big project, and if it's activating the mind, just drop it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so relieved. Okay.
And for you, so when you say I am, what is that for you?
Well, that really feels right because it's so clear. I am.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Then, yeah, it's so simple. So yeah, the mind, for so many people, it's trying to make sure it's doing things right, but the more the mind is involved, the farther we get from it. So if I am is just a lie, it's just simple and direct. then that's perfect. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason.
Jason.
Hi, Dan.
Hello.
How are you?
Awesome.
Awesome. I just kind of wanted to share my experience. I was a witness yesterday for Jinping.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an amazing experience. It was almost like there was a non-local energy that was just like being transmitted between us almost. And it was crazy. There was this wind that came through right as she was going through this amazing experience of this direct experience, and that this wind just started coming through my windows, knocked a branch off my tree outside. It was incredible. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that. And then I had a couple of questions as far as first question is direct eye contact. How important is that, and what's the benefit of that in the dyads?
Mm-hmm.
I have poor vision, so I have to get like really close up to the screen to see, get people in people's eyes.
Okay.
And,
So yeah, I would say, like, it's only important insofar as we feel connected to the other person. So as long as you really feel connected to them and they feel connected to you, that's all that matters. So if the vision is a little bit blurred, it doesn't really matter. It's as long as that connection is there, and it sounds from your first description that connection was definitely there. So
it was incredible.
yeah,
It was surreal.
yeah.
My other question was, can you speak a little bit more on when it's appropriate to ask more questions during a dyad? I find myself like holding back at times when I kind of feel like I should ask a question, but it seems like there's like a
What
kind
do
of
you mean by asking more when, like, as the inquirer?
right, correct.
So asking more questions. Like, give me an example.
Like there was something that came up last night. I can't remember it specifically, but as far as somebody going through their experience and you feel like maybe there's an opportunity for you to bring forth more for them to probe a little bit deeper, but you don't because you don't know if you should. It's my
Okay, so you mean as a witness, like probing the other person? Okay,
correct.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so we generally don't do that. Only the facilitators will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a very specific training for that. So it actually is a long process to get to that point to be able to do that, because there's a subtlety to it that isn't always apparent. So we just want to stay as the witness. The only time we can sort of, if, like, say, if your partner has sort of zoned out for like 10 minutes or something like that, you can give them the imperative again. You can just say, tell me who you are. But other than that, it's just being that witness is the most powerful thing that we can do. Because the danger is that if we start probing in any way or conversing, then it becomes sort of a conversation then, and we lose that clearing process in that. So yeah,
I needed to know.
yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah.
Thank you. Dumar.
All right.
Hi.
Thank you so much. How you doing?
Good. How are
Hello,
you?
everybody. Excellent. Yesterday, I got some experience that, as you know, I'm a new guy, but I would like to share something for me was unusual. It's not common in my life. Oh, part of the what you say about the mind they stop yesterday in the diet they stopped to thinking, they stopped to they there was for me, completely relaxed. There was like somebody, crossing on the something like that. They say, "Hey, take the wheel. I was waiting for you, and you take the wheel." And something from my chest, they like plumbing, boom, and I feel like so light. I feel so. When I try to do some question that tell me who you are, something like that, nothing come up and nothing distort the mind. It's the mind like it's so relaxed. But at the same time, I make a conversation with the mind. It's telling me, hey, now you are a baby and you are a feeding baby. You know the hungry baby. You have to stay there, relax. I take care of you. And I try to talk with the mind as a baby, and the mind like it. And the mind say, okay, I will be relaxed and you take care of the rest. And and I feel that I don't need to know anything else. Because when they asking me, hey, tell me who you are, I feel like the thought in my mind is, you're nothing. But I don't feel I'm a oneness or part of everything. Nothing in special, like out of the normal stuff. Just but my feeling inside is every sadness drop. Everything was dropped. I was like a child, like you say, like a child, so happy. The muscles of my face, they was all the time like, hey man, what's going on? You know what I mean? It's I'm trying to laugh all the time, and and I would like to share that, but I don't know if it does as alignment, because for me, alignment was like something huge, It's experience like big.
Yeah, whatever the mind thinks it is, it's never that. So yeah, it's amazing to just to see your energy. So what I suspect, you can tell me, do you feel more like yourself now?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes, I feel something like I'm more present.
yeah,
That's what I feel. And
yeah.
this is another thing is, remember that you say just uh um trust in the divine is in you, and let the divine guide you. The divine for my side, they guide me. And some scripture they say, do you remember Shiva, the destroyer? When he inhaled, he destroyed everything. And when he exhaled, they create everything. You are the same. You can do the same and do the same with the thing that you don't accept in you. For example, mad. You are mad, but you don't want to be mad, but you don't accept it. Just embrace it. Inhale, embrace what you don't accept it, and then create another things that you like it. And I was having some energy in my side that is not comfortable by that moment. And I said, okay, let me try. And I did the exercise that was teaching for me. 5 minutes works. And I said, oh my God, what is it? And that works. And for the night, when you go to bed, try to catch the mind how they create the dream. I couldn't sleep. I was like, no, couldn't sleep in the bad way. It wasn't different dreams, different places. But I wake up with full energy, like zombie.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah,
Excellent.
it's interesting when we go consciously into sleep. It seems like we haven't slept. We've been awake all night, but yet we remember dreams, and the mind has gone to sleep. But that consciousness was there all night sometimes. So yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, just whatever you're doing, your energy has really transformed. It's beautiful to see. So yeah, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and the beauty now in these dyads, you can just be you, just be free now to express as who you are, and Yeah, just be you. Yeah.
Then that doesn't mean I'm liberated right now, or no yet.
Just let that.
Because I feel like
Yeah, just trust the energy, trust the aliveness, and just keep going in that direction. And the mind that wants to know or label it, don't worry about that. Just trust how it feels, and that clarity, that aliveness is all that matters.
but for me it's weird because she's not like doing that. She's like, hey, do whatever you want. I would like to be rest. That's what for me is weird because all the time I was thinking,
Yeah,
thinking, looking for information.
yeah,
But
yeah.
now it's like totally calm.
And that's the most important thing is now you see the mind and what it was doing before, and now you can just unhook from that mind now anytime. You don't have to buy into that mind's agenda anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bien.
Morning. Morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Just a quick question. Yesterday was my first diet. Um, it's just a question about diet. If the person asks you, tell me who you are, does it mean you activate the thinking mind? Because
No.
and you lose a chance for direct experience? Because when I remember, when I have the direct experience of oneness or wholeness, that's when I get a lot of emotional. But then yesterday diet is like, yeah, the thinking might activate, and I don't have that sort of feeling.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So this is what you said before. If you put in the thinking mind, the further you go away from the direct experience. So why is the diet? So I don't know.
Yeah. So when your partner says, "Tell me who you are,"
Yeah.
if the mind, so we want to intend to directly experience who we are. So directly experience that oneness. When they, if I say, "Tell me who you are," that's when we want the mind to drop away in that moment. Just experience that oneness directly, and then
But when
the second part is then you can just be with that, just be, you know just be. That's it, and there's nothing, no other instruction. But quite often then, if we're just being, that whatever needs to be cleared in the mind and body will come up, some thought or emotion or feeling or something, and then we share that with our partner, to clear. And the sharing of it is sort of an unburdening. We're clearing the mind then. So we're doing both. We're clearing the mind and just being. But we're not using the mind. We're not trying to activate the mind to find an answer. The answer is not on the level of the mind. The truth of who you are is in that just that beingness.
but when you put into word, it's very limited, very deceiving. Like if you see the flowers and you see it's beautiful, then you lose that moment of immersing with that flowers. The moment that you speak up beautiful or whatever you name or label that subject or
Yeah,
object, it's
yeah.
just losing that thing. So that's
Mhm.
why when you reporting to your partner,
Mhm.
you losing that. You know what I mean? I just
Mhm.
yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know. So
yeah,
sometimes I
and
just want to be
yeah,
silent. Just But it's so rude to be silent or something.
Yeah, yeah. So, so what you're describing is exactly what a lot of people experience with the dyads. So if you're just being, you're being in this stillness, the mind isn't activated, and it feels very peaceful. But you're still, what we want is to allow everything to be present. If we go back into life, we still have to speak sometimes. We want to have relationships and conversations with people. So what my question is it possible to allow everything to be present at once? So not looking for an answer with the mind, so you could allow that stillness to speak, so we could allow the poetry to come through. So if we're seeing a flower, we're with the flower, we're it's there, but also allow the mind to be present, allow language, allow everything to be there all at once. But without that little I that's trying to get it right, or looking for an answer. It's not about an answer. It's and it doesn't feel right. If we're using the mind in that way, it doesn't feel authentic. It feels like we're going into a narrow experience. So trust that. If it doesn't feel right, if it feels inauthentic, let it go, but just see if you can see what comes. In that space of openness, in that silence. There may be a different voice that wants to come, that can express to your partner, from that place, from that truth of who you are. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have time for one more, Dan?
Sure.
Okay. Sue, you're up next. If you could put your video on, that would be really awesome. Hello, Sue.
Are you there, Sue? Oh,
Hi.
hello.
Yesterday, during the 1 hour meditation, nothing was coming up, and it was quiet. And then I noticed that when that happens, it seemed like
Oh.
Sorry, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
so it seemed
yeah, go ahead.
it seemed like the mind was going and picking a situation to keep itself busy, and does that make sense? That's how it felt like, but I wasn't sure if I was trying to make up something of it, or is this something that happens? And I thought that was interesting.
So the mind was it was sort of focused on a life situation. Is that it?
Yeah, it was quiet, and nothing was coming up, and it seemed like the mind went in and picked a situation that happened in the past, and then the
Okay. Yeah.
characters in that situation.
Yeah, sometimes, when we're just in an open space, it's the same thing that's happening in the dyads as well for people. We're just in this open space, and then things will start to come up. Memories from the past, could be anything, emotions, and we don't really need to know why that's happening, but that's part of the process. These things will come up to be felt and experienced, and we just allow it to be as it is. Are you working with a meditation object, or are you just
Yeah, yesterday
just
while I was doing that, I was focusing on breath as the object.
Yeah. Yeah. So when the thoughts come up, sometimes, the mind gets snagged by the thoughts. As soon as we recognize, we just come back to our meditation object, and just allow it to be as it is. There's no problem with any of that. It's just part of the process.
Already. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. So we'll head off to lunch, and just staying in continuous practice, continuous presence. Tayama, I'm going to send you a little message here shortly, so don't disappear. And we'll see you back here for yoga. So thank you.